And then obviously the story that everyone knows about with your brother and your dad. Let's touch on that. Let's touch on that if you wanna talk about that. What happened there?
Okay, so I suppose it all started in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time when did I get divorced? I think I just got divorced. Okay, and I was like, oh God, this is like, they say it's one of the worst things that can happen in your life, right? And so I was just sort of getting over that, and I'd got 2 young children, and I thought, oh, that's like the bad thing that's going to happen in my life. That's done and over with now. And then my younger brother got diagnosed with cancer. Not just any cancer, like they couldn't even diagnose which type of cancer it was, which meant there was no treatment.
Okay.
So it's bringing it all back now. So we ended up taking him abroad. I basically gave up work for 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, there's got to be a treatment somewhere in the world. So I just got on my laptop and I was calling up all these specialists in cancer, and it was so difficult because we didn't know what it was. And of course, the first question to ask was, what type of cancer is it? Don't know. And, despite all the tests that the NHS did, they just couldn't diagnose it. Couldn't get treatment privately in this country because, again, you have to get referred to a specialist in your cancer type. So we ended up taking him abroad, and we ended up in Istanbul after speaking to a lot of like top world specialists in cancer. And they're incredible. Like, their medical facilities there are way above and beyond anything in this country. They diagnosed him within 24 hours and started his treatment.
Right, okay.
Had he stayed here, he would have, he did end up passing away after 9 months. Had he stayed in the UK, he would have passed a lot quicker. But at least that gave him a fighting chance. So they were able to actually clear 50% of his cancer within the first 3 months of treatment.
Wow.
And what surprised me was there was so many people from the UK there as well. So many people who had bad experiences getting treatment here or weren't offered treatment here, who were able to go over there and actually completely clear themselves.
Right.
Yeah. He wasn't one of the lucky ones, unfortunately, and it came back with a vengeance once it had been cleared. And within a few months, it took him over, and he passed in May 19.
Obviously, it's a horrendous thing to go through. But you touched on something just before that, which was a divorce.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to talk about your brother and your dad as well. Talk to me how you went and how you coped with going through a divorce, because obviously I have as well. How did you cope with going through that at that particular moment in time as well?
You know what? My friends always say to me, it's the nicest breakup they've ever seen, because it actually was just a really simple decision, and it was just like, oh, this doesn't seem to be like working anymore. Shall we split up? And that was it. It was actually quite a simple decision. There was no arguments. It was like very clinical in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm still, on really good terms with my ex-husband, and we share 2 children together. I had this thing of like, I really didn't want to tell my parents. So I was like, oh, they're going to be so ashamed of me. Like, they have been together for years, and I don't think there was anyone else that got divorced in our family, and it was just one of those things.
Did you feel there's an expectation on you to stay together? I think there is on society now, isn't there, that stay together, it's going to be okay, work at it. I think there's almost like an expectation put on the younger generation,
especially if you've got children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of people stay together for that reason.
Yeah.
I am not one of those people.
No, neither am I.
I'm not scared to make a change if a change needs to be made, or if I think it's in the best interest of everyone involved. I'm not a person to just kind of stick with it because I made the decision and now I have to stay with it.
Yeah, I mean, you took responsibility, and I only anticipate from what you've just said there that both girls, is it?
I've got a boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl, are thriving because of that.
Yeah, they don't know any different.
Yeah.
It's just normal for them. They have an amazing life. They don't know any different. As long as they're loved and they've got security and they're looked after and they're educated, and what else do they need? It makes no difference whether they have one house or two houses.
Yeah.
I mean, surely it's a benefit to have two houses better than one, right?
Well, I mean, we'll talk about the housing situation, but take me back to your brother.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? Because there's going to be people that are in a similar situation that don't go on to be a property developer, don't want any interest, or don't have any interest in property or business, but are going through what you've been through.
Yeah.
But have no idea how to actually go and deal with these problems. Then I don't have the facilities to go to Istanbul.
Yeah.
But they need to know how to deal with it.
Yeah. And let me just tell you as well, the Istanbul trip was on a bank loan as well. So that was another issue that had to be repaid later down the line.
Yeah.
So that was, we'll get onto that when we get into the development stuff.
Yeah.
That was, obviously there were financial implications to that. How did I cope with it? I just remember being so angry. So he was only 28 when he died, and I was 5 years older than him. And I think there's an expectation all the way through growing up that you look after your younger sibling. Like if he was getting bullied at school, you would sort it out, or, you always looked after your younger. So I just felt so angry because I tried everything. Like I tried everything literally all around the world to try and make, like when it came down to it, it was me that took the decision to go to Istanbul. Out of all the other places we could have gone, Mexico, Germany, I chose that place. So I felt a big responsibility to, like, I would arrange all the travel arrangements for him, get him there every month for the treatment. And I just thought, shit, am I allowed to swear?
Cool. You say whatever you like. Whatever you like.
Am I allowed, did I make the right decision? Should I have made a different decision? Would that have impacted his outcome? So I took responsibility for that decision.
Who was you angry at?
That's a really good question. I suppose I was angry at myself. Really angry at myself. Should have done more, should have done something else, should have gone in a different direction, should have tried something else.
Why?
I don't know. But I think there was a mix of anger that I should have helped him. And like, I remember him saying, like, he would say, like, please help me. So, I had those words like ringing in my ears afterwards. I don't know what else. I don't know. I could have made different decisions, but I don't know if they would have changed the outcome.
Obviously, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but looking at what you have achieved now, why is that the reason that you carried on the legacy, if you will?
Well, about 3 months after my brother died, I found out that my dad had got cancer. I think it was a large part, like, I think he was heartbroken because he was a typical man that he would never showed his emotions. Like, he held it all inside. And I do think that my brother passing, like, no one should have a child, see their own child die. I think that brought on whatever he had, and he then had cancer too, and he passed away 6 weeks later. So we had the same thing again playing out again, but it was almost fast forwarded because he lasted even less time.